Hello, fellow YouTube inmates. I've gone bonkers and decided to answer 100 questions. Help! It's been quite a project with a few interruptions, so I've got a few notes up front. First, I've split the questions up into several videos just for easy digestion. Second, Erasmus's original video does not have him reading the questions. He just posts them, so I've read them myself. However, in order to make the questions audibly different from my answers, I've made them sound like I'm on an old-time radio show. This is also a nod to Erasmus's love of old movies, a love I strongly approve of. And third, paleontology and archaeology are not really my wheelhouse, so I've enlisted the help of a new YouTuber, Lillian. She is much more informed in this area than I am, so she's going to be helping me with some of these questions so we can give Erasmus better answers. Want to say hi to the people ridiculous enough to watch my channel, Lillian?
Thank you for having me, Snail. I'm Lillian, your mediocre paleontologist and huge science fan.
Alrighty then.
And here we go.
1. Why do you believe in dinosaurs?
Wait, I thought this was for archaeologists. Archaeologists don't study prehistoric life like dinosaurs. Paleontologists do. Time for some behind-the-shell info. I've had a few conversations with Erasmus about this video in a friend's Discord server. And based on our conversations, I know that Erasmus actually meant to title it Paleontologists. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that and assume he did actually know that archaeologists study human history through artifacts and not prehistoric life. However, from that same conversation, I know that he isn't actually addressing his questions to professionals in the field, but to the people who believe what those professionals have shared with us. We actually had a conversation about the title of the video where I suggested it might have been more accurate to call it 100 Questions for People Who Accept Paleontology. He kind of rightly pointed out, that's a bit clunkily, even if it is more accurate. So based on that conversation, I'm going to try to address his questions like they are addressed to the lay people. So back to his first question. I do believe that dinosaurs existed because I accept the scientific consensus that they did.
2. Where is your evidence that dinosaurs existed?
As I'm not a specialist in the field, I can just point to the general fossil record of prehistoric animals, which includes the broad category of dinosaurs, and the approximately 200 plus years scientific consensus of those fossils is that dinosaurs existed. Hey Lillian, how about you get in here, lady, and show Erasmus some of your evidence?
Well, the first thing I want to do is define what a dinosaur is. When referring to a dinosaur, we are referring to a group of animals that are in the clade of Dinosauria. Dinosauria is nested into a hierarchy called Archaeosauria. Archaeosauria is separated into 3 main clades. These 3 clades are, of course, the Dinosauria and its close cousins, Pterosauria. This clade contains the animals that are like pterodactyl and whatnot. And lastly, we have the Pseudosauria. These are the, crocodiles and alligators, some which are still alive even today. Now, what puts these animals into the hierarchy of Archaeosauria, but into different clades of animal, that's based on several diagnostic character traits, all of which we do not have time to get into here. The best lines of evidence we do have is the fossil record itself, along with several other evidences that these animals were there and alive. We have fossilized eggs, some of which even had embryos still inside and fossilized. Fossilized dung, and their footprints. All of these evidences combined collaborate that these animals were alive, living, breathing creatures.
3. Is there any amount of evidence that would change your mind?
Sure, prove that the scientific community is entirely wrong about the existence of the fossil record, etc., that creates and supports the scientific consensus.
4. Have you always believed in dinosaurs?
Yes, I have been aware that dinosaurs existed since I was old enough to comprehend them. If you're actually asking when I was aware they were animals that lived in history as opposed to mythical creatures, honestly not sure. 2nd or 3rd grade?
5. Do you want to believe that dinosaurs existed?
Sure, because they're fascinating. But I want to believe that Hogwarts exists. That doesn't mean we have any convincing evidence that it does. So my desires don't really come into it. We have convincing evidence of dinosaurs. No convincing evidence of Hogwarts.
6. Do you believe every fossil ever uncovered was authentic?
That depends on what you mean. Do I think that every fossil found and properly identified by a trained professional is real? Yep. Do I think that all the fossils claimed to have been found are actually real? Not a chance. People are people. They're going to run cons on each other.
7. If I claim to have a fossil of a dragon, would you believe me?
Would I believe that you had something you were claiming was a dragon fossil? Sure. Would I believe it was real without supporting evidence? Not really a chance.
8. If I claim to have a fossil of a dragon, would you want to see it?
Absolutely, and I would want a paleontologist to see it.
9. Do you think everyone who disagrees with you is dumb?
Nope.
10. Do you hate people that don't believe in the existence of dinosaurs?
No, I don't. In fact, I suspect you will not like how I actually feel. I pity people who don't believe dinosaurs existed, because they have either been deprived of a proper education or have been systemically lied to. But depriving people of knowledge and information of the complexities of our world, its history, and our knowledge of that history is to me immoral. The beauty of our world and the beauty of the knowledge should not be deprived from people.
11. Do you believe you can reconstruct an entire skeleton from a single bone?
Me personally? Hell no. From the very first bone found from a new species, probably not even a specialist can do that. However, if we have detailed evidence of the species, a single bone can tell a specialist a lot about that individual animal. For example, knowing the length of a femur of a human can give you a range estimate of how tall that individual might have been. The range, of course, is more accurate the more information you have, sex, age, etc. But forensic science uses detailed information like this and others to evaluate evidence in court cases all the time.
12. Why have we never found a 100% completed skeleton of a dinosaur?
I don't actually know that we haven't. But let's assume you're right and we haven't. I wouldn't be at all surprised. Given how fossils are created and the time span involved, it would be unsurprising to me that we would only find partial skeletons. But given my lack of info in this area, I'm going to ask Lillian to see if she can answer you more completely.
Of course, I have an answer for this one, Snail. And it boils down to Erasmus being grossly misinformed on this situation. We have found complete skeletons, and numerous ones. I'll go ahead and list off a few. We have a Velociraptor and a Protoceratops. They are both found at the same time, complete. We're not missing one bone off of them. We also have my personal favorite dinosaur, Volcarius utaiensis. Not only is it complete, but we have more specimens of Volcarius than most any other dinosaur ever. Now, why this doesn't happen to every animal is really simple. Fossilization is rare in ideal conditions. Along with the rarity of fossilization, there's something called predation. Now, predation is something that happens to an animal after it is deceased. The environment itself affects this, such as time of year and weather. All this affects predation. Then you have to add in the other part of predation, the other animals, such as scavengers that come and pick at the body and pull a bit here and a bit there. That's going to make it even harder to get an entire creature to fossilize. So, Erasmus, you now know that we do have complete fossils, and you know why it's so rare to find them.
13. Do you think it's dumb to want a 100% completed skeleton before we can make a determination about what a creature actually looked like?
Not dumb, but certainly ignorant and unreasonable. You don't need all the pieces of a puzzle to have a reasonable estimation of what is in the missing space. The more pieces you have, the more accurate your picture. Same with estimating what dinosaurs look like. The more we've learned over the years, i.e. the more puzzle pieces we have, the more accurate our representations of them.
14. Do you believe dinosaurs had feathers?
Many of them? Absolutely. Did all of them? I don't know if that is yet to be determined.
15. If yes, where is your evidence?
Again, scientific consensus. But I'm going to defer to Lillian to cover more detailed info in this area.
Thank you, Snail. This is really one of the most supported evidences we have thus far. So I'm going to try to keep this as brief as I humanly can. In my last response, I already listed 2 animals that we know for a fact had feathers from fossilized evidence. We can also look at the fossil itself for something called quill knobs. Quill knobs are these interesting little things where the feather itself is anchored into the bone. Only feathered animals have quill knobs on their bone. So, it stands to reason if we find quill knobs on a fossil, the fossil specimen itself would have had feathers. They appear nowhere else. So, what this means, in conclusion, we have indentations of fossilized feathers around specimens, and we find quill knobs on other specimens. This proves, in the positive sense, that dinosaurs, at least some species, did indeed have feathers.
16. If dinosaurs could not fly, why did they have feathers?
Insulation, or maybe adaptive coloration, which would have made it easier for them to hide from predators or perhaps attract a mate, or some other reason we haven't yet determined. Great thing about science? Always more to study and learn.
17. If fossils are real, why are the bones in museums made of plastic?
So that the people visiting museums don't wreck them. Fossils are often very heavy, fragile, and scientifically valuable. So replicas are made for the public to preserve the originals for ongoing evaluation and research.
18. Are there any dinosaurs you don't believe existed?
I have not done a detailed study on dinosaur species. Are there species that we thought existed that turned out not to? Probably.
19. Do you believe any dinosaurs still exist today?
Yes, in that all feathered modern birds are dinosaurs, because they are the descendants of dinosaurs.
20. If one dinosaur you believed in was proven not to be real, would you question other ones you also believed were real?
Depends on how that species was proven not to be real. If it was determined that all the fossils of that species were from one source and found by someone who falsified evidence, yep, I would be suspicious of any other species found by that source, until those species were independently verified. If we just reclassify a fossil based on new information, I just accept the new information.
21. Why have dinosaur bones only been found by archaeologists?
They haven't. Lay people find dinosaurs all the time.
May I step in here, Snail? Erasmus is just grossly misinformed on this subject, or he is directly lying. I'm not sure which one it is, and I honestly don't care. I'm going to correct this. Here's a small sampling of people who have discovered dinosaurs who were not trained paleontologists. Now, I don't have all their names, and I'd probably butcher most of them if I did. A farmer discovered the world's largest sauropod and the largest land animal that we know of to ever walk this planet, the Argentinosaurus. An amateur fossil hunter discovered the second largest theropod to ever walk this planet, which was the Giganotosaurus, only slightly smaller than the Spinosaurus, but quite a bit larger than the Tyrannosaurus. Yeah, kids, the Rex is actually the 4th largest theropod dinosaur. A man named Lawrence Walker found not only a new species of dinosaur, but a very large population of their fossils due to a mass die-off. This is the Volcarius utahensis. It's relatively small, about your average raptor size. This is just a small sampling of, the laymen who have found great things. Now here's a fun fact. Most paleontologists, including Dr. Jack Horner, will tell you some of the most important discoveries in paleontology are done by the layperson, not the professional.
22. How many movies about dinosaurs have you seen?
No idea. How many movies about Jesus have you seen?
23. Did you play with dinosaur toys when you were a kid?
Probably. How many toy arcs did you play with?
24. Do you still play with dinosaur toys?
With my nephew, as often as he wants.
25. Did you have dinosaur bed sheets when you were a kid?
Nope.
26. Do you still have dinosaur bed sheets?
Nope.
27. Did you eat dinosaur chicken nuggets when you were a kid?
Probably.
28. Do you still eat dinosaur chicken nuggets?
Not recently.
29. Do you believe that there aren't people who would benefit from lying about the existence of dinosaurs?
Sure there are. Kemhan and Kenthoven make a lot of money scamming people by lying about the actual scientific evidence about them and the history of dinosaurs. Well, I think that's enough answers for this video. Thanks again to Lillian for all her help with this insane project. And she and I will be back with more answers for Erasmus in part 2 and 3. Now, friends, get out there, sing and dance. Life's music needs to be enjoyed.